Hi, everyone. It's James, Nicole, Michaela, and Michelle from Think Tank 2025. The music is going to stay here with us for a little bit. Good morning, everybody.
Like dancing.
Yeah, I know.
Morning.
Yes, the music can be cut now. Good morning, everybody. So we are participants, facilitators. We are all involved in Think Tank 2025. A few of us have some experience with Think Tank prior to this. What we wanted to do today was share with you a little bit of the magic that happened last week. Can you believe it was a week ago and not like a month ago?
It's
It's
wild.
wild.
Yeah, so much has
We both
happened.
had the same word, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with us in the think tank, Nicole and I, we have built and grown the think tank over the last few years. It's a group that gathers once a year in Texas. It's in Austin, Texas. We meet at the end of the year. We work together with professionals from across aging services. We do some small group work. We do some leadership development, and we really, really dig into these relationships. And the four people you see on this screen either met recently or have crossed paths in think tanks. So we wanted to share some of that with you. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions as the LinkedIn posts are happening, like, what the heck was think tank? It feels like, some weird, strange thing of all these people lovey-dovey with one another. So we're going to peel back that onion a little bit for you. So good morning to Michaela and Michelle. Thanks for joining us.
Glad
Thanks
to be
for
here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Nicole, do you have any other thing you want to share about the think tank before we dig into this year's event?
Yeah, I've been a part of Think Tank now. Did we say, was it my fourth year?
Well, this is your fourth one. Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Out of 5. Right.
Right? From the beginning. Each year I have that same thought is how can the next year even top the year I just experienced. And that is what has been so fun for me, is that each year, each group of people, it's really been such a moment of, oh my gosh, yes, like it just builds and it grows, and every year is just so incredible. And then the group of people make it so special, and the willingness to be open and to share. So yeah. It's been a really fun time. And this year was like, so
I know, like more lightning in a bottle stuff. So for a little context here for anybody who's watching now or later, I think it would be helpful that you have a little context for who we are and kind of what we do here. So I'll give a quick 10-second intro here. My daytime job is I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bella Groves. We are a small dementia care community just outside of San Antonio. Think Tank is a part of my work, but in a broad context, what I hope to do is to provide some thought leadership in the space of senior living and how we can all move forward toward the change we keep talking about, but need people like who's on the screen to get that stuff done. So my daytime job is that I'm a dementia care provider. Michelle, can we go over to you real quick?
Sure. My name is Michelle Magner, and I've worked in senior living for 8 years and have been a family caregiver. So I founded a company called Inspired Caring to support families on that caregiving journey by coming alongside of businesses who are in spaces where they find that they have a lot of family caregivers in their ecosystem.
Yeah, you're like the friend that comes in and is like, hey, let me help your business be even more successful here in this space. Yeah. And you live and hail from
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha,
right in the middle.
Nebraska. There you go, dead center. Michaela, good morning. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
I think I'm actually dead center. We're in Wichita, Kansas, so I think that's more centralized. But I'm the CEO and president of Comfort Care Homes, and we are a dementia care provider. Been in Wichita for 33 years, and we have homes that function as neighborhood locations for people to be cared for who are dealing with dementia and their families. And I got to Think Tank. Well, we'll probably talk about that, but I'm really passionate about this work and being in this space of finding other comrades who are doing similar kinds of work. So, but I've been in senior living, I guess maybe 20 years. It seems unreal to me to say. I don't think I'm that old, but that's true.
Yeah, Wichita, Omaha, and Minneapolis. Nicole?
I know, right in the center also, right?
We're down the yeah.
Midwest.
Oh, we're all
Midwest.
Yes. I'm still learning how to share what I do now that I've added other work and organizations, but really the foundation of that is being a family caregiver and the goal and desire to really tell story through amplifying the voices of older adults and family caregivers and professionals. And I do that through the podcast that I have, elevating the good work that's happening in the space, coming alongside organizations to help share their story. I also work as the development and strategic partnerships lead with Lorenzo's House. They are a global nonprofit advancing dementia justice for younger onset dementia, and newly supporting Rendeavor in marketing and strategic partnerships. So it's been exciting, and all of that work completely fits together. It's so awesome, but it definitely, it's just another way to reach the people.
Man. Yeah, how do you put all that in a LinkedIn header right there?
Right, exactly. I'm like,
yeah.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to, share about all three.
Share and practice our pop. That's an inside thing for us who are at the think tank. Okay, so the main point of this, the reason for the introduction and bringing all of that up in the first place, is that we are all in different corners of aging services, and that's one of the most beautiful parts of the think tank that have happened over these 5 iterations, is the diversity of people who are in the room that kind of touch all aspects of aging services. And so the main question is going to be for people watching this, what is it? What is a think tank, and why would I care about what this is? So that might be a helpful place to start. Maybe Michelle or Michaela, you can speak to some of your experience. We've often said think tank is hard to describe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to try and describe it, and maybe through the lens of what attracted you to it, and why did you decide to say yes? I'm curious for that.
Michelle, I'll go if you're. I think I can touch on at least the initial why for me was that I was tired of being in spaces where I felt like there wasn't a lot of inspiration and maybe a lot of creative thinking. And I was looking for some spaces that would provide that. This was recommended to me through a colleague, Jeff Bell, and he was very passionate about it in a way that I found kind of strange initially, to be honest. Like, man, you're really feeling this. Maybe it's too much, but I kind of took a leap because there was an important moment for me of realizing, to move in a career and to move in a space with honesty, I have to be honest when I feel stuck and when I need something that helps generate new content, new ideas, new inspirations. And man, like I couldn't have expected what has happened. It's been really radical. In 1 week, I'm just like reeling still from this experience. And probably people who know me are like, okay, time out. We've heard enough about it, but I just want to keep talking about it. So that was my inspiration initially to come to Think Tank was I needed a shift and I needed some inspiration.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning for me.
I think for me, and I know Nicole's spoken about this before too, of I think there's a potential misnomer or I don't know. It just when you meet people, when I see your stories, like each of you, when I see your stories, my natural inclination is to think, man, they must have it all figured out. They seem so clear about what they want to do. It's like they just must be fueled. They just must eat inspiration and mission for breakfast every morning, and they just know what they're doing. But what is quite often the case is that people like us who have a cause, who are unabashedly on the soapbox, we need a support group far more than most people would think. And so this kind of concept of needing to be in a space where you're with your people, where you're getting inspired, where you have some freedom to talk about the things that you're feeling uncertain about, I think has been such a wonderful forum for us. And Michaela, I'm glad you leaned into it. Thanks, Jeff, for the plug. And now, Michaela, you get to be the weird person that everyone's like, this is a little weird, right?
I'm used to being kind of the weird person sometimes in a room, but it's exciting to, like you said, to to feel a, unity of that.
Yeah.
There are so many people doing really incredible work in this sphere, and this ecosystem is another word that people keep using. And I'd never thought about it like that, to be honest. I thought it was kind of a siloed situation, and shame on me, because it isn't, right? And now I get to kind of lean in to the spaces that feel organic and that have really good soil for growth. And I could go down the metaphor of a garden if we
We don't know until we know, but now we know. Yeah. Michelle, I'm curious for you. You are not a first-time think tank attendee, although that doesn't make a return visit automatic. So same, question posed to you of if you were asked to describe the think tank, what is it for you, and why did you choose to go the first year, and why come back another one?
For me, the first year was really about exploring and trying to understand what think tank represented and what it meant and what it was and who was going to be in the room. My second year, it's like it clicked. I got it, that what we were trying to accomplish in this space together. And so I was really pumped to come back and feel like I will accelerate in 2026 as a result of having been there. The way I describe it, because people are asking me, like, how was your conference? And it's just so different because it's an application process and each attendee is vetted. I feel like when we arrive, because we've also been meeting in smaller groups and we're actually creating something for our industry that we love so much. We call it a deliverable. Because we've hotwired some connections, when we get there, we get into some pretty deep, big discussions pretty quickly. And what I appreciated about this so much is the quality of thinking in the room. We're not complaining about our industry, like we can keep doing that, but we really do need to start to work towards significant impact and change. And I feel like the people that are in that room love what they do and who they are serving and who they are working with. And they also know that it has to change. It is an ecosystem of how we move people, our older adults, through this care system. And it's unsustainable. The numbers are outpacing what we can do. So we have to be thinking differently about how we can scale services and then have authentic connections with people that feel good. It doesn't have to feel, it is all a business, and it can also feel with our hearts like aligned with who we are and what we want to do and create in the world.
Yeah. I think for all of us, and maybe the other, members of each year's cohort, we can probably look at points of our career, maybe as recent as now, where it's hard to kind of keep suiting up and going back into the fight and thinking, man, am I the only one who's like on this soapbox? Am I the only one who feels this way? And we're, I'm in San Antonio. We got San Antonio, Minneapolis, Wichita, and Omaha. We literally are kind of all over the place physically. And so how wonderful it's been to have a meeting place, right? A support group meeting place to be like, we're all going to be in the same space. And so to click down a little bit on the small group work, it is a huge part of Think Tank. The goodwill intention of Think Tank is we're all smart individuals. We all have resources. Let's start pulling them together to create something that's of value to other people. And are these deliverables earth-shattering? Probably not, but they're a starting point. Here's an entry into, if you've had questions about leadership or you don't have a lot of material and you're a small business, here's a white paper, here's a book, an ebook that we created on leadership. You're not familiar with this new policy coming out called the guide model? Great, a group built something to give you an introduction to that. And it is, as you have come to know, it is a vetting process as well. So like if you are not into the small group work, you're probably not going to enjoy Think Tank. So yeah, we kind of poke fun at it, but yes, you're paying, yes, you're contributing work, and no, you don't get to keep that as intellectual property. We are building it for the purpose of, we want it to be shared. We want you to copy it. We want you to steal it and make it better. Yeah.
I love that part of Think Tank. I just have to say, for me, that was one of the appeals when I heard that this was about sharing resources in an industry where sometimes there's this sort of commandeering of resources, or I understand this thing, this is my corner of the world, this is how I do it, and I want to stamp it. I was delighted at the idea of collaboration with other professionals that wouldn't just happen in a bubble, but would be intentionally used across the scope of this industry.
Mhm.
And for me, that was from the gate a really important part of joining.
Yeah. It's like open sourcing change, for our industry. Nicole, we've changed the format of, or we've tweaked with and experimented with the format of Think Tank every year. One of the big ones was that this is the first year where every single small group got to present and talk about their deliverable. I've always felt bad that we run out of time because everyone is so jazzed about what's going on, but we've run out of time. And as a facilitator, I've taken that to heart. This year, we got through all 12 groups, which is amazing. I'm curious to know your kind of perspective of that change in format and what it might have done for the room.
Yeah, I honestly, you had reservations from the perspective of I wanted everyone to present, but we also were curious, okay, is the work, the motivation to do the work ahead of time versus having time at Think Tank, right? We know people are busy, and you can see the dedication that had happened, right? Because all of the small group work was completed, and the opportunity I felt to have the small groups present made this year, I think, so special. It gave everyone the opportunity in a way to be a facilitator, right? And be a part of Think Tank in a bigger way, and to hear people share, to see what they put together, to hear the thought process behind that, to hear the discussion was so rich between the people that presented their small group work and the other participants and the questions. I think it added such another level of depth and richness to the conversation. We got to learn so much more. We got to have a really good understanding of the work that was done, but then how we can take that and share it within our networks or implement it or connect with people in those groups. So it was one of my favorite parts of this year, to be honest. It was so incredible. Yeah.
I think
Michelle.
I think it also sparked discussions that would not have otherwise happened in the space. Totally. So, for example, I think we talk about it in that room, the things that people aren't, like, we whisper about it maybe with our peers or our local communities, but they're really the big issues that need to be addressed. And so it gives a container for us to elevate those thoughts, like what's happening at an investor level versus an operations level versus a direct care level. Like, there's some significant bridges that need to be built. And I think had the small groups not presented, I don't know if that would have come up, but it's a big deal to have those conversations.
For me, I don't have any other frame of reference, since this was my first year coming to Think Tank. And I can't imagine not hearing those conversations. Like Nicole said, it was so rich. And as I have a background in art, so for me, it was like a critique. It was like, here's my project. I want to be critiqued. And not often enough, I think, in business settings, do we have the opportunity to question one another in an authentic and like genuine way that isn't hurtful, but says, like, let's push each other. Because like Michelle said, the bridges in that room of all of these different people, it was like, oh, we can build a quick bridge over here, and here's another bridge. And it gave reflection that I can't imagine not doing it that way, but I wasn't here before. So I'm glad it was the way it was.
It was a good addition. And, one of the things I've been thinking of and struggling with is, somebody who started the think tank is, how can this live beyond like myself or any, individual or groups of people? The idea of creating tight networks and tight coalitions based on this ideal of, let's create resources for other people. Let's share the information that we have, and maybe this will accelerate the change. And so the hoarding of information and ideas and, this like obsessiveness over it's mine or it's my intellectual property, I think, we had one group, interestingly enough, we had 3 people from direct competitor landscape, like the 3 of them represented, leadership at direct competitors of one another. And I thought it was so beautiful what they ended up coming up with from a marketing perspective, which was their topic. Um, and I thought that was pretty neat. And what did they say? Collaboration over competition, I think maybe was the phrase that came about. Man, we need more of that in our industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to move a little bit into the second, I think one of the biggest parts of Think Tank is leadership development. So our tagline, this is when Nicole and I mashed up our work and our heads together. So our tagline became "Where Head and Heart Leaders Gather." And the intention here is that we all, I think we're very thoughtful, learners, and we go try to source new information and learning for ourselves. But if we're being very, very honest, and you really thought about, I asked this question at the beginning of Think Tank, what have you done this year to level up your skills? What have you done to sharpen your saw to improve your impact? And yeah, there were some vague answers of like, well, I read or I listen to a podcast. But if you think about how often have we done what we did in Austin last week, which is like, let's break apart a topic, let's dig into the skill sets, let's rumble with it, and let's practice. This is rehearsal for real life. So the theme this year was art of influence. And the intention of that was to help the participants see that their work, that their business, their endeavors, that the things that you do for work is your artwork. And when you do it authentically and with that intention to share, it creates influence because people marvel at the courage to just be an artist. So your business, your efforts should stand for something. And that was something that we tied together about thought leadership, is that thought leaders stand for something. They stand, you know what you stand for, you know what you stand against. So Michaela and Michelle, I'm curious for you on the leadership development side and that topic in particular, what were some of the things that kind of resonated with you that you feel like are going to be integrated into your work moving forward?
For me, I think, first of all, it's just nice to have a space where you are recognized as a thought leader, as opposed to stay in your lane, stay in your department, stay in your sector of this industry. It's nice it's almost a permission slip that's being given to explore and expand. So I'm grateful for that. For me, the M bar that you walked us through was a really impactful exercise. And it's something that I'm sifting through with my own business, and then my personal, my family, just kind of what motivates each of us and producing the results that we're producing. So I also really appreciated the idea of, am I giving myself an annual review? Because when you're an entrepreneur and collaborating and connecting with peers and creating different things, I do a lot of reflection as to if my work is continuing to be aligned with my core values and my company values. But just, you asked a question, why are you staying? Like, that's just a question that gets asked sometimes in our annual review. And as an entrepreneur, I think that's a really legitimate question. So next week I have a meeting with my boss, and we're going to do my annual review.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good.
I love that. For quick context for people who aren't in the room, MBAR is an acronym for a system that I developed for myself just to make sense of my own accountability to aligning my actions to get to the results I'm looking for. So MBAR stands for motivations, behaviors, activities or actions, and then results. And it's for me, it's a objective way to just look at the data around what am I motivated to do, and does everything I do tie back and anchor back to my core motivations, which really come from my sense of purposefulness, and then you radiate out from there. And a lot of people interpreted MBAR as work your way from the outside in. So look at your results. Business results, life results, friendship results. What are the outcomes of the things that I'm doing? And then you trace it back to, well, what are the actions that I can observe? Actions are very, very clearly observable. These are the things I do or don't do. No ifs, ands, or buts, no good or bad, they just are. And then the deeper work is around B, your behaviors of, okay, now that I can look at all of the cluster of actions together, let me start grouping that into habits. What are my behaviors that are leading to those actions? Do I take a ton of meetings at the beginning of the week? Do I not respond to emails and wait for a call? You look at your own behaviors as a clue as to how and why you may be getting to your results. So it's just flows back and forth, and for me has been an objective way to look at your own actions. And I'm glad it resonated for you, Michelle. Michaela, what about you? So this year's leadership development theme, what were your biggest kind of moments here?
I mean, I think there were so many, and I'm still sifting through, kind of like Michelle said. I mean, I'm still writing a little journal and, really sitting with these ideas every day. But I think the biggest takeaway was alignment for me. That's that word has been used over and over again. We talked about the concept of ikigai and this, where is my alignment? And the MBAR is about alignment. And so I want to take that back to my team. It's the week of Christmas or before Christmas. So for us, they're like, whoa, cowboy, we're not doing that this week, which is fair. I'm like really motivated and they're like, no, wait just a second.
Yeah.
So, but it's also giving me some pause because, as a leader who is also really motivated to make change really as often as possible, I'm very interested in change, creating things, moving us about, through this system. It's given me a pause to say, sometimes something like Think Tank is a pause also to reflect on those things in an actual way, not in an inauthentic, I got to put together a proposal and a plan and present it next week. Like so I'm coming back and having to kind of sink into that, so that when I take the MBAR to my executive team, when I take the MBAR to our caregivers and maybe even our families, I don't know, or these ideas, I'm going to do it with some intention. And that has been kind of an aha moment for me that I think came from both the pause that Think Tank was as a professional, but also the content as a creator, if that makes sense. Like it's given me the opportunity to look at those perspectives. And the Ikigai for me is just, that's something I feel really close to. I feel really close to that idea of what my alignment is. And I feel very fortunate that I think in my life, I found a lot of congruence in the things I do think, say, believe, feel, all of that. And that's great for me. But then how do I take that and expand it for others? And that's been a big task to really think about, that I've taken away from this experience. And I don't have an answer yet, but I'm excited for the investigation.
Yeah. It's a theme that comes up a lot in the weeks following Think Tank is, what do I do with all of this? And if we kind of think about, each of us were on a hero's journey that led to the Think Tank. What's difficult about the return home for the heroes of these stories is nobody else has gone through that experience. So your world has changed, your worldview has changed, but the literal world that you go back into is unchanged. And what's interesting about the archetype story of the hero's journey is that we rarely get to know what happened afterwards, right? We know the transformation that happened, but the reader, the audience, is left to kind of think about and ponder what happened. What happened to Frodo once he went back to the Shire? What happened to Marty McFly when he got back home in his timeline? And so then we become a part of that story and the fiction and the fantasy around what happened to the hero. So I think it's there's an element of that for us, of like, Michaela, you're back and everyone's like, okay, we didn't experience what you experienced, so like, help bring us into it.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. But I think that's a really poignant thing to talk about, Michaela, and a great self-internalization is the moment I'm being called for is not the excitement of everything that transformed me, but a moment to pause. So I think that's a really thoughtful approach.
Yeah.
Michelle, this being your, I'm sorry, Michaela, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask Michelle, Touche. Michelle, I'm curious for you, last year was your first Think Tank. And so you at least have some context and story to, well, what did you do? Or how did it feel for you, knowing what Michaela's feeling now? You felt it last December and January. And this may also segue into something Nicole really loved about the think tank, is the relationships and deepening of relationships that actually produce work. That, you know, these aren't just people you've met at Austin, but then you're like, these are people I want to work with, and then work is created from that. So Michelle, what was your experience last year, and what could others expect from, like, what advice would you have for Michaela thinking, I need to synthesize all of this now?
I want to preface with, this is not a networking meeting. So the people who are attending this, we are invested, we are doing the work, we are walking the talk. So this is, I feel, not the space for you if you're just coming trying to drum up business. But what happens is when you put a bunch of really passionate, authentic people in a room together, we gravitate and pair off and start to create things. So for me, meeting Aaron Thompson, who is a fellow think tanker, we met on the treadmills at the hotel a year ago, and we just felt an instant connection. And then she invited me to come present in Alabama at their assisted living conference. And subsequently, I've had her on my podcast, and meeting Carrie Alberts there, had the opportunity to be with her at different conferences. And now I'm looking to bring her to Omaha with a program that she has created with another gentleman, Aaron Fish. So I think it is about taking a next step in, I found that person really interesting, I like what they're doing, and actually following up and connecting with them, and then making something happen, because I think this is how we're going to be able to shift what we want to see shift within our industry. Year one, I had a little imposter syndrome. Do I belong in this room? Nicole was like, oh my gosh, you'd be perfect for Think Tank, when I reached out to her about it. And year one, I did a lot more just watching and listening. And this year, it just, the energy, the electricity, and I mean, like Michaela was saying, like, you come home so fired up. I'm emotionally a little tired. There's a lot of peopling at Think Tank, and introverts are there too. And I am just so lit up with what is going to come from this year and some of the new connections that I've met. So yeah, I feel like I could go on and on about it. There's someone that in my own hometown, Jean Hartnett, had been to Think Tank prior. We live both in Omaha, and it took us going to Austin to get to know each other. And we have subsequently done work for an organization in Nebraska, and we're talking about creating something, because our work just dovetails so beautifully, to take forward, maybe even outside of our industry. So it just is a space to generate really big action.
Yeah. I love that. We've said, when you're aligned in your why, the who and the how just takes care of itself. And we don't find the where enough times to bring those people together. And it would take way too long for me to talk about all the connections and things that I've personally gained from, the last 4 or 5 years of Think Tank. So I'll skip over that, but just say it's been beautiful. It's just been so rewarding to see, like LinkedIn posts and things of alumni that have gotten together and have started projects and doing work. So it's beautiful. Nicole, I know you want to say something about this.
I do. You can just tell that is something that we've come across before, where we get the question of, is this business development opportunity? Yeah. And truthfully, we don't present it that way.
Right.
But when we share, and when I can give examples, just like you said, Michelle, when you get to know people and you are in such alignment and the passion is there and you're doing work together, the amount of collaborations and work that has come out of Think Tank, I think, is probably far more significant than any other event that I've been to. I will tell you that. So I feel that there's so much that can come from that. Of course, it is that personal ownership over you also need to be invested and open to getting to know people and having conversation and hearing their heart and seeing where there can be some alignment and sharing what you're working on and what you're learning and how does that work together and support each other. So there's definitely the personal responsibility in that. I think that that's a really cool byproduct of think tank also is that you can't be passive, right? You have to be actively a part of it to really have the full experience of what that can be. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely so many things can happen.
Yeah.
Think tank. Yeah.
Michaela, do you feel like you've found some of your people there?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think, it's also kind of this overwhelming, like so much so that there's an overwhelming flow of like, how do I categorize all that? Where do I put all of that? When I first was talking to you all about think tank, I wanted to go to the Amsterdam think tank, the international one, and things shifted and I still want to do that. But my original reasoning for that really was I had a really impactful and radical experience traveling internationally to Japan and brought back things to work. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go do that. I didn't really think about, and maybe this is funny to hear, but like I didn't think about the people. I kind of was like, let's go see this thing, and that's what I'm going to go do. I think the people have been probably the whole thing, right? Is like that, those deep connections. And I mean, there's 15 people I have on a list that I'm like, I want to do this project with them. I want to talk about this. I want to talk with them on their podcast. I'm going to follow their podcast. It's like just this really fast. And that's, as a leader, I mean, you talked about this, James, early, that sometimes people think, oh, maybe folks have things together or they can post something really nice. But there's a part of where you kind of, you dry up, the sponge dries up, the inspiration dries up. And people and other people's experience can really help generate, that new life force. And for me, that was true. And again, also kind of overwhelming, like, oh gosh, there's a lot here. I don't want to miss any of it. But I'm also, I know this won't be the only time I ever go to think tank again. Like that's pretty clear for me. If I'll do that again, I'll just be there. I'm like, can we start in the Midwest? Like, let's go. So.
Yeah. I don't think we could keep Michaela from coming back at this point. So,
sorry,
it's a happy thing. Yeah. Michelle, did you have a reflection?
It has fluttered away.
Oh,
well, it's also you're creating, because when you're in a room full of people talking about your favorite subjects, you actually create real friendships too. I've been to Minneapolis twice for separate events and have reached out to Nicole like, hey, are you available for dinner? So actual connection, real friendships are developing through it as well, which I think is really rich and challenging as adults who have very busy lives and a lot of things going on. So it's nice to feel like you have genuine connections with people. I'm in your city. Let's get together. Totally. And Michaela and I are very excited to create something, Nebraska, Missouri-ish, Kansas. Yeah.
Kansas-ish.
Regional-ish.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It's there is something special about going through a deep experience with others. You feel connected to them. And so anytime I go out to an event now, it's an instant pull. If there's somebody from the think tank, it's automatic. We're gonna spend some time together. But I think the idea that before all of this, before the experience of think tank, when I would go do generic networking, as I call it, you collect business cards and you figure out like, oh, this is your job, this is your company. And immediately as you meet somebody, you're like, okay, Michaela does this, how can that, and you're already starting to go well past the relationship into the result of that relationship, right? So, and you're already, without knowing it, starting to pitch each other for why you may be a benefit or the other way. This has happened so often at Think Tank where people tell me, I didn't even know what people did until I left the think tank, or like towards the end when you realize, oh, it's Wednesday morning, we've done the photo, we're about to go home. Let me ask Michelle what she does for work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was really cool. We shared about that at Think Tank this year, our experience with the Care Sanctuary at South by Southwest, right? That really, Think Tank brought us together, Carrie Albers, Patty LaFleur, Kyle Rand, James and I, and we were able to take that energy and idea, and Rendeavor really had the vision for it, and Kyle was a speaker at South by. And so being able to have those opportunities, and then we could share that experience and give people hope and information and the understanding of what's possible when you just can dream together. And what I loved is that it really framed influence in a different way, not only for myself, but for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
The understanding that, I think you asked the question, James, and you started talking about the art of influence, like what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And people really had thought it was more in, right, an influencer or
social media or
and it really is not that. I mean, that's a small piece of it, but just to, when we have passion for our work and we use our voice and we stand for something and we share. And I loved Erin Thompson's quote so much when she talked about the person in your life that has the most influence is the one that is the most clear. And it really is, when you think of even as an organization or a voice for your cause, you have to be clear so people understand it and they want to come alongside you, and you can articulate that, right, just in every way. And then the byproduct of that is the influence and the growth and the impact that happens from that.
Yeah. Clarity. It's in our storytelling, in our work, there are so many times that we even all of us who are passionate and clear about what we think we're doing, asking people like to step up in front of the room and tell people, like, give it your introduction to this room full of people. And even then you felt people kind of struggling in real time for, all right, what I typically say is, I'm James, I'm the owner of Bella Crowes, we provide exceptional dementia care, and and so you start kind of unintentionally adding the fluff and the lyrics of this rather than like really connecting with people. And so one of those skills that we talked about in the art of influence is how do you tell your story in a way where you're clear about the problem you're trying to solve, the opportunity that exists because that problem is there, and then what you feel are the practical steps to get to that promised land of the outcome. So I love that we're feeling all these feelings, but we're also, it's against the backdrop of real practical skills, ways that you can elevate and level up your ability to tell your story. Yeah. Michaela, you're about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to reflect that for me, the art of influence at first was kind of an off-putting title, I think I said. And I don't know if it was because I thought it was the social media or it was like, oh, I'm being an influencer. Who do I influence and how do I do that? Is also, as I've reflected on it, I think it's a hard thing because it's a huge responsibility, right? When you know that you have influence, but you don't always know that you have the tools to implement it in a thoughtful or maybe a strategic way. You just know that people are like, man, you really are influential, or I really am impacted by you. It's like, okay, now what do I do next with that? And this particular topic and the way that we kind of broke it into pieces helped me have, like you said, these practical tools that I feel like can take my influence and make it matter. And for me, being an influential person's cool. That's great. But I want real progress. So influence without progress is cute and like neat, but like what's next? As an artist, you make a really cool piece, you want people to be impacted by it. You want them to have something they leave with and that they want to do something about, and I think for me, the core of my work and what I want in the world, not in my job even, is a kinder world, right? And I want more collaboration, and those are things that are a part of me, but finding ways to do that and have a tool to say, hey, let's put this in this box and we're going to move it this direction, and other people then can join more easily, I think was something I didn't expect to take away, but has been with me all week. And I think will be all year. So
yeah, I'm excited to follow this story along, Michaela. I posed it to somebody earlier this week that for me, the difference between think tank and conferences and events, I think a lot of events, in particular conferences, are set up like a film premiere. And it's like you're going to come watch a movie. And so you don't have a lot of information other than this is what the movie is, here are the people who made it, and you're invited to come in and sit and watch and observe and then have a feeling and go home. And what I think the think tank is, in contrast to that, is it's a fan festival. It feels like a fan festival where you've watched the movie or watched similar movies ahead of time, and you want to go be in a room full of people who are going to geek out over it and say, what did you think about the cinematography there, right? And then you start picking that apart a little bit. And so the small group work, the leadership development, what is so beautiful about that for me every year is seeing that people are in the fan fest of geeking out over things that they feel deeply matter. So, if you spent 4 or 6 weeks prior to Think Tank deep diving into marketing or perspective of seniors or whatever your topic was this year, you've already geeked out ahead of time. And it's like, I'm going to the Fan Fest to now engage with my people about it. So I really love that dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to touch on your art, Michaela. You had shared this beautiful drawing showing where we all came from, and to see the entire US covered from all over. It was just a really amazing visual of that. Yeah,
it was for me, synthesizing experiences like this visually is, that's just kind of, I learned to do that as an artist at school, and I've done it my whole life. And I was just incredibly struck by the concept of 50 people, 50 states, like here we all are in this room, and there's this community that felt small, and I don't mean that like small in impact. I mean, it just felt intimate.
Yeah.
And that was really giving to me in a way that I both didn't anticipate, and in our current environment felt radical to me. Like that is not an easy thing to find right now, is that across this whole big place we can still come together and do something really beautiful. So I've kept kind of iterating that concept visually for myself, because that's powerful. And I have never been to a conference that has done anything remotely like that. That doesn't happen normally. I draw pictures, but I don't know that I would share them with people about what I thought of those conferences.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
Well, and the connections, that were made through the different dots of where we all live, and the fascination I have is with the heat map of what comes from the movement and what comes from the different collaborations and connections, and where that work is then delivered throughout the US. And it's just a reminder that, and globally, really, the global impact this can have. It's just such a reminder, we're just not that far apart from one another.
Yeah.
There's a humanity to what we're trying to do, which is take care of older adults and guide each other on our aging journey.
Yeah. And it was meaningful, James, family member, family caregiver, that to have those voices in that room as well, the perspective. And I love that it brings together people in all aspects of care and the care economy, from senior living to age tech to family caregiving to dementia to physical therapy to nutrition, right? Like it takes all of these different perspectives, which I think is what made the time and the conversation and the questions and the small group work so dynamic and so much depth, because I think we, in a world where there are so many diverse thoughts and opinions and views on a lot of different things, to be able to come together and do that in such a constructive way is really a testament to the people that were there. Yeah.
What I'm struck by as we're talking is that I'm thinking back to previous think tank themes as well. And I love that the group, we weren't all, by the way, like Yes, high five. I agree with everything that's being said here. It was a room where people felt the safe container to be like, I don't know, I'm having trouble with this one, or I'm not sure I love the title of this. And people have told me, it's like, I'm not sure I wanted to come back for a second year. I didn't know if I'd get, something out of it. But how incredible that we're in a group where those kind of conversations, the real things that we're thinking, are said out loud rather than
Mhm.
kept internal. And
Mhm.
I think what it does is it gives us courage and encouragement that when we find the right people, the natural flow of who we are is going to
Mhm.
come out.
Mhm.
So, this year, Michaela, you saying, I wasn't sure if I was a little bit off put by the theme of, the art of influence. And last year we were talking, our theme was light the way. And one of those subjects was about thought leadership and how most people are like, yeah, no, I don't want to claim that badge of thought leadership. But what's striking me right now is that this intention, this group, is about reclaiming. It's about reclamation of, well, these aren't bad words, these aren't bad things, but we really have allowed people who come into the space of aging surfaces who have other motives other than the care part of what we envision. And again, not to toss the baby out with the bathwater, we need capital, we need investors, we need outside influences to help enable what we do. What we can't allow is for them to overtake what we do. And so people who want to be part of the choir and just, and aren't musicians but just kind of learn the lyrics, that's what the industry has started to feel like for me. And so I think when they use words like influence and care and person centered and all the things that were our words, they were our lyrics, and other people learned them, and it cheapens it a little bit. So I think what we're doing through the experience of Think Tank is reclaiming that and saying, well, no, community is a good word. Influence is a good thing. It's a point of service to other people. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe that's a little bit of the spark of
Yeah.
Think Tank.
Yeah, there was a big article that came out by the Wall Street Journal actually touching on how storytelling and organizations that have people that can share story and represent in a different way, because we want to be able to connect with people and mission and values. And it's all that transpires from what we learn about thought leadership, right? You have to be brave enough to stand for something and then have your work point in that direction, right?
Yeah.
And then the art of influence, that your work is your art and you need to use your voice and be clear to be able to have people come along with you on that journey. Storytelling, right? The hero's journey.
Mm.
It's so interesting how all of those kind of touch on that same thread
Mhm.
through all of that, is that the guiding light to all of us being able to point towards our North Star of wanting to make a change, wanting to make a difference, wanting to speak to the heart of what people really need, right? Solving bigger problems, being solutions to things, building community. We need the collective. This is so overwhelming. Not one of us is capable of solving that all by ourselves. Like, we need each other. And then having the vulnerability to actually ask hard questions
Yeah.
and be open to learning and to be open to changing and hearing each other and what we share. So it just is a really, really, really special time to be able to see that come play out in real time with everybody there.
Yeah. I hope that as people listen to this conversation, at the very least, it may intrigue people to be like, there's something there. And if you're feeling as we have felt, whether you've been to a think tank, considered it or not, um, this is an opportunity for us to go back to the well, to go find our people and be rejuvenated, and also sharpen our skills. That's a specific part of why we gather. So we want to share with you and anybody listening some of the ways that we hope Think Tank will grow. So in the previous 5 versions of Think Tank, it's all led to one big event at the end of the year. That won't go away, by the way. So there will always be this mainstay December, let's all gather and do this work together. But we've already experimented with a few things. So study abroad, we've done that twice now. Amsterdam, Nicole and I had a group last year, and then we took a study abroad group to Okinawa to study longevity and health span. That was amazing. We're going to continue to do study abroad. Think Tank International, Michaela will now be part. That was their small group topic. Little did they know, I was just roping them into creating a Think Tank International. But we've got a group of people that we're going to put together a real concerted effort. I love the project that you guys came up with, which was really to help people answer the why, what's in it for me to go. So I love that. So Think Tank International, we're going to work to present that to the world. And then part of the intention here is to take Think Tank out to people. So the Think Tank Roadshow, if you will. What's beautiful about what we do in Austin is that we pull those 50 people together. But to your earlier point, Michaela, what if that radius was tighter? So where you guys are, Michelle and Michaela, between the two of you, and Jean and some of the other people, Jeff Bell, I bet there is a group of alumni that could put together a think tank that's a regionally based one that just pulls from people in close proximity. I heard one time that one of the highest signals of who's going to be your best friend is proximity. Like if you live close to somebody, you're going to just develop that. So think tank, regionals. We are also considering a masterclass where it's nice to have the art of influence and a topic like that broken down over 2 days, 2.5 days. But imagine what could happen if you broke apart, like, for example, facilitation. Both of you, Michaela and Michelle, specifically commented about the art of facilitating an event itself. That is its own kind of magic. There's actually a lot of skill underneath that. So if we took a concept like facilitation and broke it out over the year and had a study group that just built upon those skills all year long, imagine the impact and the influence of that. So we're considering that. And then lastly, one of the things that there's a potential new person that's going to be entering the think tank mix for 2026 and beyond. More information on that later. But one of the things we are excited about is leaning more into, this is such a personal experience at Think Tank. There's certainly lots of professional parts of it. But what we're thinking is let's actually kind of dissect out the personal parts of this and just lean into that. So we're putting together a possibility for Think Tank retreats that are really more based in your personhood. So your identity, your purpose, your meaning outside of any role that you take. I think it's agnostic to even industry, but an idea where you can come together and just focus on that without the distraction of how do I tie this to my business. Lots of BHAGs, lots of big, hairy, audacious goals for how to expand this. But for me, it's a commitment to what I've hopefully been trying to coach and support all of the attendees on, is that we have to rise to our station. Sometimes we're called for things based on our strengths and connections. You can't play small. And even though we could just keep doing the same think tank over and over and over every year and have this kind of response, we have to dare. We have to be courageous enough to do something that may flop or not be great. And I think that's part of the story now of Think Tank moving forward. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Let's kick it back for just kind of final thoughts here. I'll go around clockwise. Nicole, Michaela, Michelle, you'll have the last word. But anything you wanted to share about the Think Tank experience for anybody listening, watching, like, I wonder if this is for me, or if they wanted to hear, like, what did it mean for you? If you can even possibly synthesize for yourself, what did Think Tank 2025 mean for you? I think that would be a great way to close out. Nicole?
Yeah. Wow, how do you sum it up, right? I think capturing the magic in a bottle again for another year, meeting incredible people. James, you had just said, okay, best friends with proximity. I believe, honestly, my best friends in the whole world live nowhere near me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
people that I love are not in my state, but I've learned to really invest and develop those relationships over time and make effort and communicate. And I love that. And so for all the people that have come from all different areas to encourage you to continue that. And you never know when proximity then works out, when you're able to see each other, and it's so special. And the idea of, for me personally, of really looking at the influence and the art of that in different ways, how I share that, really seeing how it's different than I think what that word means, leaning into that, having the opportunity to really support people and encourage them in that way. And I think that for me, what I've loved is helping other people see in them what's possible. And I think sometimes we just need the courage of someone in our life and a really good friend to be like, I see that in you. And I know that this is something that you are wildly capable of accomplishing. And sometimes you just need someone near you and by your side to just encourage you in that. So for me, I felt like that was my role this year, is just being that cheerleader for people. I was not in a small group, and I really wanted to have the time and the attention to be intentional with connecting with everybody there. So for me, I gathered some different lessons and moments, and yeah, it was really special.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Nicole. Michaela.
For me, it's pretty, I think, relatively simple, but very complex, right? The word is being seen. This was what Think Tank for me was, being seen, and the light in me being reflected in others. And I don't know, I mean, that's worth anything in life if you can find places that do that for you. This can be really hard work. Caregiving in general, just in this sphere, is something that can lay heavy on you, and does sometimes, you know. So being seen felt really wonderful, and then having light reflected for me was what probably I took away the most. There's lots below that, but I think for anybody who is at that place of needing a spark of inspiration, a change, a better community, or a different community, this is a radical and wonderful experience, worth it.
It's beautiful.
So for me, I think my biggest takeaways from this year are just infinite, unbounding love and support and desire for my growth is what I feel from the people in this space. And it also I have it for them as well. Like, I just want everybody to be successful in their endeavors, and how can I support you, and what can we create together? Just feel stronger than ever from this experience. I think if someone is listening to this and they're still curious if Think Tank is for them, if you have a rumbling, if you have concern about where things are headed or where things are right now in your life and world in this industry, I would say book a call with James. I don't know if that's what you do, James, but I would say reach out to James and explore if this is the space for you. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we can't just complain about it. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what Think Tank has really empowered me to ask and take action on.
Yeah. Such beautiful reflections that, you know, it's very clear why you are my people. And I'm so proud that this thing that we didn't ask permission for, just said we're going to do it, has turned into something that has been so profound for others. And it certainly has been for me. You know, my parting message for anybody watching who hasn't been part of the Think Tank, or maybe you've been before and thinking about coming back, you know, this really isn't a commercial endeavor. You know, the growth, the way I think about growth is that a lot of people have growth as their strategy. And I think of growth as a responsibility. You know, that if you're serving, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, growth is almost it's a calling for you, that you have to grow. And that's where I feel like Think Tank is now, is like, I would be very comfortable with let's just rinse and repeat and do this magical thing once a year. But when you think of growth, not as a strategy, but as a responsibility, then you have a different relationship to it. And so this, you know, this work, this profession, for all the beauty that it provides, it also makes you question everything all the time about whether the sacrifices that you make are making any dent in the world. And I think at the end, that's what all of us feel. That's what all of us ever want, is to know we're happy to make the sacrifice, right? We're happy to make the contribution. We're happy to give the time. But it has to be reciprocated with some feeling like it's making a difference. And the more that diminishes, the more that you question whether or not you're going to keep investing. So for me, the think tank or spaces like this, you don't need to come to the think tank. Go make your own, by the way. Just use the name too, think tank. It's really hard to defend that as IP. But you know, there is no original think tank here. Just gather, just get together and do this work. I want to end this LinkedIn Live with a quote that we ended on at the think tank this year. It's from the actor Robert Redford. The glory of art is that it can not only survive change, it can lead it. And I think that's a really great thought, and it's a really empowering thought to go into the new year, that the glory of art, your work, the work that you do, is not only can it survive the change that's happening around us, but in the best of circumstances, it can lead it. So I hope you have a great end of your year. Thank you, Nicole, Michaela, Michelle, for hopping on for this. I feel like we recreated some of the feels from Austin last week. So thank you for doing that. For everybody else, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy holidays. A good wrap up to your 2025. We'll see you out there in the battlefield 2026. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.